Hey, good afternoon. It's Brendan Payne with Century 21, the Harrelson Group here along the Grand Strand. And I appreciate you watching this October market update. And we're in the fourth quarter. So 3 months, a little less than 3 months left in the year. And I wanted to cover a couple of misconceptions that I'm seeing come up this time of year, some specific to what we're seeing right now in the market, and then others that kind of year after year, I try to educate those of you that allow me to be your resource. I like to educate you on what that fourth quarter usually looks like. And then I'll give you some ideas if you are a property owner, some things to be looking out for over the next 6 months that we can anticipate. So first, let's talk about the first misconception that I talked a little bit about in the newsletter, and that is the question or the assumption that people wonder whether or not prices are going down in our market, and they're not. We are going to likely finish 2024 with an increase in overall median values of homes. And is it going to be the same as the increase in 2020 or 2021 or even 22? No, it's not going to be that extreme, but overall prices will show an increase. Now, it's important, anytime I talk about market stats, it's important to understand there are micro markets within the large Grand Strand. So some areas perform a little bit better, some have a little bit more inventory, some a little bit less. So when you're talking about your individual properties, it's always a good idea to check in with me and get an idea within your property class what's happening. But overall on the Grand Strand, we are seeing still stable to slightly increasing values. Now, part of that is because, of course, over the last 30 days, we just had a 50 basis point cut in the Fed funds rate. Now, one thing that I will note, because I get this question a lot, is, well, the 50 basis point cut didn't really do anything right after that cut to the interest rates. This last cut was kind of baked in already. There were people anticipating that it was going to be 25 to 50 basis points. So you saw the change in the interest rates prior to the Fed cut. Okay. Going forward, they're talking about another 25 to 50 basis points cut when the Fed meets in November. So you won't always see a declining interest rate right after those cuts. There's a lot of other factors involved, and many times there's an anticipation that that's going to happen, and so that affects the interest rates before the actual cut happens. The other thing that you're seeing is while inventory is increasing in some areas, so is the demand. So we know that with interest rates going down, there's going to be an increased demand. But the other part is we don't necessarily, in a lot of parts of the market where our buyers are coming from, we don't necessarily need to see big drops in the interest rate for them to jump in the market. We just needed to see a little consistency. So over the last 60 days, it's been pretty clear from what the Fed's meetings and in their announcements have been that we are going to be making cuts going down. How much, how long, where do they get to? Nobody really knows. But that changes the narrative from, we're worried we may have to keep raising them, and changes that to we're probably going to continue to get a little bit better. So you can think of someone who is thinking about purchasing, they don't necessarily have to get it to a significantly lower level. They just don't want to be bouncing around. You go start looking and then all of a sudden rates go up and then they come back down and you get excited. People don't buy and sell that quickly. They want to see some consistency and see what the trend is. So that's increasing the activity. The second misconception that I'll talk about is the fourth quarter in general. A lot of times owners will feel like the fourth quarter is not the time for them to make a move if they want to sell because there's not much happening. Now, the reality is in the fourth quarter, there are fewer transactions that take place, but the amount that it drops off compared to the peak months, which is usually May, June, July, they kind of flip-flop every year. The difference in the low end amount of transactions versus the high end is only about 15 to 18%. On top of that, even though transactions drop off, then new listings also drop off. So you can see just because there's fewer transactions, there's also typically less competition coming on the market. Less competition for sellers is a great thing. The other thing that happens every single year is there will be properties on the market in November and December, good properties. They're not getting a contract, but when January comes around, then all of a sudden they sell. Why does that happen? Well, because a lot of times when people are busy during the holidays and they are buyers, but they just have other things going on, they're looking online. They're making their list of what they like, deciding, okay, what do we need to do when we're ready to buy? They're keeping track of values. Then when the new year comes around, things heat up quickly. Then they make their move and jump on the properties that were out there. So you can imagine if you're not out there in November and December, you don't get that visibility and get some of that early jump on the new market once the new year turns in January and February. A couple of things to keep in mind if you're a property owner trying to figure out, do I sell? Do I wait till the spring? What I can anticipate right now goes back to what I mentioned with the overall trend. Most buyers right now, most people that are in the buying market are feeling like, yes, we are going to be in a position where we can buy now at a lower interest rate and we are going to be headed in the right direction. So there's very few buyers that are just waiting until interest rates get to a certain level. Buyers that have to have a home to live in, or they're moving for a relocation, or they're retiring from another market, which we have a lot of those. They're just wanting to see, are we going in the right direction? Can I feel comfortable if I buy today and it makes sense that there's a chance maybe I can refi in the next year or two? That's what's causing the increase in the amount of activity. And I think that will continue into the first quarter of 2025. Also, imagine there's already an assumption that 25 to 50 basis points will come off in the November meeting. So that will likely cause an increase in the amount of buyer activity at the time of the year, again, which I mentioned, where there's fewer new listings coming on the market. So each individual owner has got their own motivations, their own timing of when they want to sell, when they can sell, what works for their plans. But I anticipate people that are looking at selling in the next 90 to 120 days are probably going to have the benefit of new activity, new buyers, motivated buyers, and fewer listings to compete with. So if you have any questions, you want to get an idea of specifically with your property, what's happening in the market, the stats, what prices are doing, please reach out to me anytime. Thank you for allowing me to continue to be your resource. And I look forward to continuing to keep you up to date on exactly what's happening here in the Grand Strand real estate market. Thanks so much. Have a great day.